Oh, and did I mention that Abraham was 6 feet 4 inches tall? 14 inches taller than myself. And what must I have looked like, craning my neck to look up at him? Well, I'll tell you, in our later years together, the difference in our heights so offended my own vanity that I just refused to be photographed with him. Oh, but the difference in our outward appearances, well, it told nothing of the compatibility of our spirits. The first 10 years of my marriage were as if I were sleepwalking. But finding the letters from Lucy Mercer woke me up and made me begin a process of becoming my own person. I stayed with Franklin, still was the dutiful wife, but I began doing things that I was interested in. I'd always been interested in equal rights for working women, the abolition of child labor, and the establishment of a minimum wage. And I joined the League of Women Voters because they too were active for these causes. And for the first time in my marriage, I stood up to my mother-in-law. After we fought, I would think to myself, oh, Eleanor, you should be ashamed. But I wasn't. So I'd go around asking anyone and everyone questions like, what do you think women desire most? Of the new Senator Kennedy, I said, can you think of any reason why a contented bachelor should want to get married? And the next thing I knew, I was Jack's date to the inaugural ball for the Eisenhowers. Yet I still sensed, despite his father's instant approval of me, that Jack was a man who did not want to marry. So I devised a strategy. Whenever I felt ignored, I refused to return Jack's phone calls, or I'd go away for the weekend without telling him. And when my newspaper asked me to cover the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, I went. And I sent Jack notes about all of the wonderful occasions I attended and all the charming men I met. And pretty soon, Jack proposed over the phone, and we were married in 1953. But you know, when I began researching my book, that some of you might want to read one of these days, I realized that Bill and I were not the first couple to rely on each other in both life and in politics. Well, there was the advice that Abigail Adams gave her husband, remember, which earned her the derogatory nickname Mrs. President. And then, of course, there was the unofficial presidency of Edith Wilson after her husband's stroke. And, of course, the firestorms ignited by Eleanor. Well, as we approach another election just 3 years away, I'm wondering, what is it that we're going to be looking for in our next First Lady? Well, maybe we won't have to ponder that question much longer, because it might not be long before we're asking, what's the role of first gentleman? Their end is near, men in